And he kind of, well, we're all we knew everybody around.
But Rich
So-
kind of adopted him as a younger brother.
Yeah, he kind of took me under his wing, and we went fishing. He broke me in for fishing, broke me in for hunting, working on cars, and he,
You stood up at his wedding.
yeah, stuff like that. Anyway,
And we palled together, he and his wife and Don and I.
he said, they need a painter's helper.
A painter's helper.
Yeah,
A car paint, that paints cars.
car paint.
Rail cars.
At this Ford agency.
Okay.
He was a mechanic there. And I says, what do I know about that? He says, you're one of the greatest bullshitters I know. Just tell him you know.
Go in there and fake it.
Yeah, you can do anything. And that's exactly what I did. Well, the guy, the painter, he took me under his wing, and first car I started to work on, he said, you never sanded a car in your life. You don't know what the hell you're doing. And I said, you're right. He says, how come you lied to me? I says, I need the job. He says, okay, I'll give you a trial. And I buckled down, and I made it. So then I had another friend of mine.
So that was on Ford automobiles.
Ford. Well, anything.
Okay.
Any car that came in,
All
needed
right.
paint,
Okay.
or whatever, they'd take in any kind of work.
Okay.
So then I had another friend of mine who worked at Cadillac. So he says, they need somebody in the parts department. What do I know about parts? Come on down. You're going to jump from Ford up to a Cadillac.
Woohoo!
There I go. So I go down to Cadillac. And I start working down there, and I did numerous jobs there. And then this Rich
And that's
was
why he was
still
doing
working
my
at this Ford agency. He called me back, plus we knew each other from, palled around and stuff like that. And he said, they need a mechanic on the front line. And I told him I got a guy. And he used to work before. He's down at Cadillac now, but I can get him to come down here because we're buddies, He says, I don't have any tools. He said, well, you better get to the store and buy some,
Because you had to supply your own tools.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he says, but make sure they're kind of dirty, like they're used, because you don't want to come in with a brand new toolbox. So I hit it with a hammer and, threw some dust and grease on them, and, okay. And I got the job, So
now you're back at
I'm
Ford.
back at Ford, and
Are you at a high school now?
Huh?
Are you at a high school now?
yeah. And he had gone on a fishing trip with one of the other mechanics, and he had some buddies, two other buddies, that happened to work on the railroad on Santa Fe.
Oh.
So at that particular time, the railroad, somehow or another, they had, through the unions, said, it's time to loosen up on your employees. They were working 7 days a week and no days off.
Oh.
Now, we'd like to change that to where everybody else in the country is working 5 days a week with 2 days off. Oh, that means we have to hire people because we still work a 7-day operation, 24 hours a day, so we need people to fill in for those 2 days off that all these other guys are taking off.
So
Now, in
about
the
what year
meantime-
was this?
It started in 1955.
Okay.
The end of 1955, and I hired out in January or February
Of-
22nd
Of 56.
of 56.
And in the meantime, we had met when he was working at Cadillac. And we got married in September of 1953, and Bobby was born in January of 55. And he was a mechanic all that time.
So everything
So-
I am today, I kind of owe to this Rich McCarran, who
All right.
passed away a few years back.
So but
everything
how
you
did
are
it?
Today, he was responsible for
These are-
leading you into good jobs, is
Yeah.
all.
So how did? So you went down to the railroad to
Yeah, I
Santa
went
Fe,
down to the railroad.
and did you have to fake it there?
No, this is a true story. It's winter time out. It's February.
Yeah.
So,
And there's a line, isn't there? A bunch of
Yeah.
guys that are.
well, it turned out he wanted me actually to hire out on the Santa Fe. But the Santa Fe had their quota. They didn't need any more. They had hired everybody. But he said, the Belt Railway Company of Chicago is hiring. He says, that I know. Where the heck is that at? Well, that's in Clearing, Illinois, which is right here in, at 65th and Central. Well, heck, it's right here, So I find out where the employment agency is. I go down 65th Street, turn on Central, head towards the railroad, and I'm lost. I'm driving, and I get, there's buildings here and there's buildings there, and there's a big, it turned out it was the hump with a tunnel going through it with tracks coming
A
through,
big hill with tracks
You know.
going over it.
and there's a tower with a building up there above the hump,
Yeah.
and the snow is about this deep, So I'm sitting there, and here comes a train underneath the tunnel, and here's a guy with big boots, galoshes, big overcoat, a chromer cap, big gauntlet gloves.
What kind of cap did you call
They
that?
call them chromers.
Chromers.
Yeah, that's a railroad cap with the ear laps.
Okay.
Like the Russians.
Yeah, kind of like that. And so as the train is coming down, the guy, he's out lining up the switches, cleaning them out. He's got a snow broom, and he's cleaning them out and throwing the switches, and this guy comes out of this building to my right. He's gonna go get in his car. And he says, "Hey, can I help you?" And I says, "Yeah, I'm looking for the employment agency." He said, "Well, it's right here." He says, what kind of job you looking for?" I says, "Well, I heard they were hiring switchmen and firemen. What are they?" I'm just looking for a job.
And did you say right now I'm a Cadillac mechanic?
No, I didn't say nothing.
Okay.
So I says, "What, can you give me any,
Help me here.
give me some clue. What do I," he says, "You see this guy walking in front of the train? That's a switchman. Train goes by, there's the fireman." I said, "That's the job I want." True story.
That guy, he's a fireman.
That's exactly, I said, "That's the job I want." He says, "Go right in there." I hired out.
And he came home and he said, and he came home and he
I
then
told
he came home and he told me,
the guys at Ford get lost.
And he says, I'm no longer a mechanic, I'm working for the railroad.
I'm working for the railroad. What a mistake.
Yeah,
And 40 years later,
yeah. Well, what we
but
didn't
it was a
know,
good career, wasn't it?
what you do when
Well,
you hire out like that is you get
It, wa- the job was a good job. The people that I worked for were rats.
Okay.
all kinds of people.
But the people you worked with
Railroad people are
They
were
were.
decent people?
Most of them were.
kind of a
Okay.
Most
league
of them
their
were.
own.
Okay.
There were some rats,
Sure,
you know, and
sure.
one of the big things that you kind of find out, you know, when you go to a job, you try to learn the ropes.
Yeah,
And I had figured out the sooner you learn the ropes, the better off you'll be, no matter what job I was on. You know, if you learn what you're doing, people are gonna, you know, respect you more. They're going to take care of you.
yeah,
You know, you obey. You know, I was taught obey
Yeah.
your manners, treat people square. Yes sir, no sir. You know, just you know, upstanding. You know. Okay.
So you started as a fireman.
I started as a fireman. So the engineers, you know, I'm just, there's an engineer, a head man, there's 5 guys on a crew.
Yeah.
When I first started out, I'm number 6.
Oh,
Well, there's 3 seats in
Okay.
this engine, and sometimes there's only 2, one for the engineer and one for the fireman. There's not a seat for the head man, and there's a salt box. He's sitting on a salt box. I'm standing.
She don't know what a head man is.
Well, he's the head switchman.
okay.
So he would line the switches up for the engine as you're going forward. And so they're calling signals. You know, I'm listening. This is what you do. You know, when you come to work, you report here. You find out. You know, you'll go and you'll talk to the roadmaster, foreman, and he'll tell you where you want to go, how to get there, and what crew you're going to work with. Okay? Well, there's hundreds of guys, hundreds of jobs. You know, I'm lost. So then I'm starting to pick up on how come nobody's talking to this switchman here. All you're doing is you're calling signals and there's no conversation. You guys hate each other? Yes, we do.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Why? We don't talk. We got a code here because that switchman is a scab. He crossed the picket line.
Oh,
Okay? I had, the second day I worked, I had started, I was on what they call a transfer job, a road job. And I just, okay, we're going to be on the 472 today. And that's down in a row of engines. We'll meet you out there. He's got a fireman. Fireman, he got all the flares. He got all the lamps, kerosene lamps. Put kerosene in and make sure the wicks and everything was straight there. And he got a jug of water, and depending, during the summertime, you got ice for a little ice box to put your water in. And so I go up and I sit on the engine, and I sit on the engine, and I sit on. An hour later, they come out. Okay. Yeah, this is Earl, and I'm Joe. Okay, I'm Don. That's it. The engine's moving. I don't know what's going on. We go get a caboose. We go to the east yard, which is right off of Cicero here. There was a west yard by Harlem. There's an east yard. So we get a caboose and we go there, and they all disappeared. They don't say nothing.
And you're just sitting there.
I'm sitting there.
You're in the
I'm
engine?
sitting there. I'm in the engine. You know. And it's cold.
Yeah.
It's cold in the engine. It's all steel.
Well, there's
You
no
know.
heat in there.
No, very little heat. And an hour later, they come back. Jump on. We go over and we caboose a train, and we take it down to 22nd Street by Western Electric down there. And all this time, you know, green board, all clear, No conversation. Nothing. So what the heck kind of a job is this? This is crazy. And this goes on all day. We get trained, you know. So we're coming back, and I'm lost. I don't know. I'm on a railroad. I don't know a boxcar from an airplane, you know. And I'm saying, and I left, I'm a full-fledged mechanic, and I left for this rotten job? I said, what am I, nuts? So we got a train, and we come around Midway Airport, and I start recognize where I'm at. And I pick up, I'm alongside Harlem Avenue. Okay? I see 3M, Corn Products over there, and I recognized the used car lot, you know, Model A Franks. I said, now I know where I'm at. And I got up, and I said, where did we park our cars this morning? Who are you? You know. I said, where did we park our cars this morning? What are you talking about? I says, I quit. How do I get to my car? You see that big building way down there? That's Central. That's where you're parked. I said, goodbye, I'll see you later. And I got off the engine and I trudged through the snow and I walked all the way to Central and I got home and I don't know, sometime later, the phone rang. And it's the road foreman of engine, his name was Wally Combs, and he says, hey Gillies, I heard you quit. I says, yeah. I said, this is the stupidest, dumbest job I was ever on. Well, what happened? I says, I didn't learn a thing. It's crazy. There's no, you know, no conversation. They hate each other. He says, well, do you know who your crew was? And I says, well, this guy's name and this guy's name and this guy's. He says, I know. He says, there was a scab on that job. They don't talk. He says, I'll tell you what you do. Do me a favor. Don't quit. I want you to go to the West Yard. I'm going to assign you to this sweetheart job. Then you tell me whether you want to quit or not. I went to that, it was party.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Everybody was friends. Everybody was talking. You know, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I met this broad last night and blah blah blah. We went to the bar and oh man, and I walked out of there holding my sides.
Did you learn something?
A little bit, but I said, now you're talking.
Okay.
This is different.
So,
Okay.
but then tell me, so you started as a fireman. How many years were you a fireman?
I was 6 years till I got promoted to engineer,
Okay.
and I had to take 5 tests.
Okay.
But I thought
Every
you
year.
were more than 6 years, because you were 6 years on the call board.
Well, I was that too, but I still got promoted.
And call board was, if
The
there
extra
was
board.
extra board.
Yeah.
And he was only called out when they needed an extra.
Okay.
Okay, so you might work 7 to 11 today, and they might not call you out until 11 o'clock tomorrow night.
But so would that have been typical, about 6 years as a fireman before you could get promoted to
It
engineer?
was a lot more than that, Don.
No, it was 6 years.
But you had to take these tests too.
Yeah.
But
And
I
what-
wasn't an engineer. I just got promoted. I stayed a fireman.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, you were not an engineer after
No,
6 years.
no, there was no room.
No.
There was no
But-
You were a
call.
fireman
I had to
until.
I had to wait till somebody either died or retired or
Sure.
whatever to get.
What kinds of things were on these tests that you had to take?
Well, I had to take a mechanical test. I had to take electrical test. I had to take air test. I had to take a road test.
Okay. All right.
Different stuff like that.
So once you were promoted, that meant you could be an engineer, but not until somebody died or left.
Right,
Okay.
Which was
Right.
several
Okay.
year later.
right.
All right.
So, and then I would bounce up to be an engineer, and then I get put back as a
The
fireman.
bottom
Yeah.
of the extra list.
And
Yeah.
then I get engineer again, and then I'd go back to the fireman board,
Right.
Okay.
But when I was on the fireman's board, then I'd be a regular fireman,
Yeah.
before I became an engineer.
When he was a regular fireman, then he got 2 days off a week. When he was on the extra board, you got no days off.
No days off, you just was on
You
call.
just waited around for the phone to ring and say, we need an extra, be here at this
Okay.
time. And you pack your lunch and you go to
I
work.
did that every
And you got
day.
paid for every day you worked.
Oh, okay.
And so that's what made that very hard. For 6 years, and you did that 24 hours
Yeah.
a day. And
But overall, was there ever then in later years a time that you said, I think I want to do something else? Or did you end up saying, I'm happy with the railroad?
No, I was happy with the railroad
Okay.
because things sort of sunk in after a while. When I became a mechanic, now being a mechanic working on your car and other guys' cars and helping out and doing things, at your leisure and their time and whatever, it was, kind of interesting and fun.
Yeah.
When you're doing it for a living, now you gotta hustle and you're knocking these cars out because you got paid for the job, that you worked on.
And it's a percentage, 60-40 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had to work. Now you're underneath these cars in the wintertime and all this crap is falling on you and I had mercurochrome, iodine or whatever, my fingernails, it was ingrained in me, the grease and, then I started to remember,
And it wasn't
Hey,
a sure paycheck.
it wasn't so nice of a job.
Yeah.
I mean, the status was there.
Yeah.
You're a mechanic and your name, and the Ford,
Yeah.
and I was at Cadillac, my name and Cadillac, and oh yeah, you had some kind of status, but it was
Long
rough.
term, the railroad was the
And you know
better.
what,
Yeah.
when you were a mechanic, you're never assured a certain amount of salary, a paycheck, every week or 2 weeks or whatever it was. With the railroad, you were.
Yeah.
And so that made a difference as well.
Yeah.